Transition Awareness Breathing. Feeling grounded for both children and parents is essential for healthy living and learning. Join Eartha Powell on this series for tips and tools for creating a harmonious environment for learning. Transition Awareness Breathing will help you and your child find an individualized path to tackle change, promote lifelong learning, and discover new approaches to calmness.
Hi everyone, this is Eartha, and I am back in the United States. I was out of the country for a little while. I was in Israel. And while I was there, I was thinking about you. And I wanted to do something which I felt would be meaningful and creative and original from my heart. So what I did is I recorded a podcast while I was over there. So I thought I would do this little introduction before the recording of the podcast started, so that you wouldn't get confused. When I was there, my nose got a little bit stuffy, so you're going to probably detect a little bit of sound change in my voice. But it's all good. So without further delay, I'm going to introduce you to the podcast recording that I did while I was in Israel. And then I would like to guide you in a finishing practice. Before the podcast start, may I mention, I wanted to bring in some of the culture within this podcast. And this has been such a inspiring experience that I think I'm going to do more than one podcast. So let's say this is my introduction for you, and with my gift to you, my podcast from Israel, I'm going to bring in some of the music. So this is the first one, and then next time I would love to share with you a mind-boggling reflection from a 14-year-old who was on our trip with us. And you know, if you want to have honesty and a pure answer to any question, ask a teenager. I so appreciated the reflections of this wonderful teenager, but I'm not going to go into it right now. You'll have to come back and listen to the next part. But without further ado, again, I'm going to bring in some music. And while you're listening to that music, if you are paying attention to the music, one of the mindfulness skills I would encourage you to use is your listening. Listen to background noises and just imagine what's going on within the environment. So, okay, here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. This is Eartha, and I am still in Israel, Jerusalem in particular, and I wanted to do a podcast while I was here in Israel as a gift to you. I wanted to share with you one of the mindfulness techniques that I found myself practicing here in Jerusalem. Before I share that with you, I'd like to thank Web Talk Radio for allowing me to have a platform to bring Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast to you, and to my producers, Mary Lou and Sam. Thank you so much for making Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast available to my listeners wherever they go. Okay, speaking about going, you know, the most significant mindfulness technique that I've been using a lot. So, you know, if I had to prioritize whether it's breathing or awareness or body scans, reflecting on gratefulness and thankfulness, I would have to say all of those. But the one in particular that I've been using a lot is mindful walking. And it's just not the walking. Yes, it is the walking, but it is the thoughts and the reflections that here in Israel, no matter where we traveled to, our tour group, we were educated and made aware that we are walking upon generations. And what I mean by that, in these buildings here, they are built upon generations of other cities. And from the time we got here in Israel, that was made very, very clear as they revealed different archaeological digs, and they could, the tour guides showed us how from layer to layer, the relics that are found represent different eras of times, whether it was the Greek times or the Roman times when we first arrived, and then as we went to other cities, according to that area, different generations were revealed, and I just have such fascination with that concept, and it led me to a strong, deep appreciation to every step that I walked. And you can even tell how the bricks changed. A lot of the stones on the streets here in Jerusalem are made of bricks. And the thing of it is, and I took one tour. It was a walking tour, and I noticed the stones were like these square bricks. And so I asked the tour guide what significance, or was there a significance in these square bricks? And he said, no, these are just regular modern bricks. And they didn't look modern, but the concept of keeping the aesthetics to represent the culture and the generations and historical appearance is very, very strong here, and I so appreciate that. It just makes everything else, you're walking, and there's beautiful flowers everywhere, and the houses made different textures, and they build up. But the steps, each step I took, I just realized I could be walking the same walk where King David walked. They discovered a part of King David's castle. I mean, we read about these things, and here I am walking on an archaeological dig that reveals King David's castle. Little old me. Oh, wow. It's just mind-boggling to me. And so, with those kind of emotions, I just really have a very strong appreciation and respect for this country and for all the growth and struggles and the amount of work that has gone into beautifying this country. And I think learning about mindfulness, I know that I would appreciate it anyway, but with the mindfulness point of view, it's like I'm in touch and with a lot of the emotions and in touch with my own small existence. We're only here for a moment, but the moment that we have and being in the now and appreciating the now just makes life more rich. And so I invite you, wherever you are walking, take a moment and reflect the steps that you take. Who took those steps before you? How many generations took those steps before you? Reflect on maybe those who helped you along your path of success or your path of education or whatever path that you may be reflecting on. A lot of times, many times we don't even appreciate or are aware of those who give us a helping hand or make an opportunity for us. And so with those steps and those reflections, take a moment and just give a thought of gratitude. And then the next step is to make a step for someone else so that their steps can lead to futures that are improvements from now. Well, with that, I would like to lead you in a practice. In this practice of mindful walking, I encourage you to have comfortable walking shoes and a area where you can walk around and notice changes in textures and smells. And so if you are like in your office or in your car, you can maybe pause the podcast and wait until you get into that area and then restart the podcast, or you can listen to it and get some information and then join me on the practice of mindful walking. And imagine we're all walking together. Imagine we're walking together. And as you place your feet on the ground, take in through your consciousness the other generations who have traveled this path before you. And maybe their steps were not as steady as yours. And maybe their steps were made with struggles. And as you walk each step, appreciate the struggle and I invite you to acknowledge a sense of gratitude that your steps are not made with as much struggle as those who have gone before you. Notice sounds as you walk in the area where you're walking. Smells and textures. Flowers and plants. Greenery, foliage. Who planted those? Where did they come from? I invite you to stimulate your curiosity. The buildings. And as you continue to walk and appreciate each step, notice any changes in the surface of your steps. Is it soft? Is it gravel? Is the road bumpy or smooth? How did it get that way? As you continue your walk at a comfortable pace, notice your breath. Bring your focus to your breath. And imagine the breath of those who've gone before you. Now, I invite you to bring your imagination and your focus of the steps that you are taking. Who will be following your steps? And maybe let's talk about the steps, the pathways, the gifts of your creativity, the words of encouragement. Maybe think of those as steps, our words, our thoughts as steps for those who are coming alongside of us, for those who are coming behind us, and the encouragement from those generations who has gone before us. The steps. And bring an appreciation that maybe your steps are not so easy to make. So appreciate your strength with each step. That each step that you're taking, you are using your energy to make the steps of others maybe better, or maybe the steps you're taking are teaching others, bringing others to an appreciation to the beauty that surrounds you. Take a breath in and blow it out. Notice your breath. Notice the aromas. And maybe this is the first step. The first step to acknowledging the generations who have gone before us and who will follow behind us. Thank you for joining me in Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. And I look forward to walking with you again.
Be sure and pick up a copy of Eartha's new book, Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's not just an ordinary coloring book. It features 23 illustrations to stimulate thought, relaxation, and creativity for anyone between the ages of 4 and 94. Increase your positive self-talk energy. Unlock new creative paths. Transform your time once or twice a week to create beautiful art while strengthening confidence, building positive self-talk, and sensitize self-awareness. Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's available now at Amazon.com.